Welcome to this important discussion on the sensitive subjects of addiction and child abuse and neglect. We understand that these topics can be distressing and trigger difficult emotions. Viewer discretion is advised. If you or someone you know is struggling with addiction, or if you suspect child abuse or neglect, please seek help immediately. There are dedicated hotlines available to provide support and assistance. For addiction-related concerns, you can reach out to the Substance Abuse and Mental Health Services Administration, SAMHSA National Helpline at 1-800-662-HELP. They can connect you with resources and treatment options in your area. If you suspect child abuse or neglect, please call the National Child Abuse Hotline at 1-800-4-CHILD, 1-800-422-4453. Your call can make a difference in a child's life. Remember, there is hope, support, and help available. Let's now dive into this important conversation with compassion and empathy as we explore ways to address these critical issues. Addiction is a complex and multifaceted condition, and its causes can vary from person to person. Several factors contribute to the development of addiction, and it's often the result of a combination of these factors. Here are some of the key contributors.
Biological factors. Genetic predisposition plays a significant role in addiction. If you have a family history of addiction, you may be more vulnerable to developing one yourself. Additionally, certain neurotransmitter imbalances in the brain can make individuals more susceptible to addiction.
Environmental factors. The environment in which a person grows up and lives can influence addiction. Exposure to substance use, peer pressure, and a lack of positive role models can contribute to addiction risk. Living in an environment with easy access to drugs or alcohol can also be a risk factor. Psychological factors. Mental health conditions such as depression, anxiety, trauma, and stress can increase the likelihood of addiction. People may turn to substances as a way to self-medicate and cope with these emotional issues. Social factors. Social isolation, a lack of a support system, and social stressors can contribute to addiction. Conversely, having a strong social support network can be protective against addiction. Developmental factors. The age at which a person starts using substances can impact addiction risk. Adolescents and young adults are particularly vulnerable because their brains are still developing. Drug characteristics. The addictive potential of a substance itself can play a role. Some drugs are more physically and psychologically addictive than others. Behavioral factors. Certain behaviors, like impulsive decision-making and risk-taking, can increase the likelihood of experimenting with drugs or alcohol, which can lead to addiction. Chronic pain or medical conditions. Individuals with chronic pain or medical conditions may be prescribed medications that carry a risk of addiction, leading to unintentional dependence. It's important to note that addiction is a complex interplay of these factors, and not everyone who faces these risk factors will become addicted. Additionally, addiction is considered a medical condition, and seeking professional help and support is essential for those struggling with it. Treatment options, therapy, and support groups are available to help individuals overcome addiction and lead healthier lives. Child neglect can result from a parent or caregiver's addiction due to various factors and behaviors associated with substance abuse. Here are ways in which addiction can lead to child neglect. Neglect of basic needs. Parents struggling with addiction may prioritize obtaining and using drugs or alcohol over meeting their child's basic needs. This can include neglecting to provide adequate food, clothing, shelter, and hygiene. Emotional neglect. Substance abuse often leads to emotional instability and erratic behavior. Children in such households may experience emotional neglect as their parents may be unable to provide consistent emotional support, love, or a stable environment. Inconsistent supervision. Parents consumed by addiction may be inattentive or absent from their child's life, leaving them without proper supervision and care. This lack of supervision can expose children to dangerous situations. Exposure to harmful environments. Children may be exposed to harmful or dangerous environments associated with drug use, such as drug paraphernalia, violence, criminal activity, or unsafe living conditions. Educational neglect. Parents dealing with addiction may not prioritize their child's education, leading to chronic absenteeism or poor school performance. Medical neglect. Parents struggling with addiction may neglect their child's medical needs, failing to seek timely medical attention when necessary. Emotional trauma. Children living with parents who have substance use disorders often experience emotional trauma due to witnessing the negative consequences of addiction, such as arguments, violence, or parental neglect. Involvement in risky behaviors. As children grow older, they may be more likely to engage in risky behaviors themselves, such as substance abuse, due to the modeling of their addicted parents. It's important to note that addiction can impair a parent's judgment, leading to unintended neglect rather than intentional harm. Nevertheless, child neglect resulting from addiction can have serious and long-lasting consequences on a child's physical and emotional well-being. In such cases, intervention and support from Child Protective Services, social workers, and other professionals may be necessary to ensure the child's safety and well-being. Addiction can lead to physical child abuse through various mechanisms and behaviors exhibited by parents or caregivers who are struggling with substance abuse issues. While it's crucial to recognize that not all individuals with addiction engage in physical abuse, the impairments associated with addiction can increase the risk of abusive behavior. Here are some ways in which addiction may contribute to physical child abuse. Impaired judgment and inhibition. Substance abuse can impair a person's judgment and decision-making abilities. When under the influence of drugs or alcohol, parents may lose control of their impulses and react aggressively or violently towards their children in situations that might otherwise be managed differently. Irritability and aggression. Many substances, especially when used in excess or during withdrawal, can lead to heightened irritability and aggression. Parents dealing with addiction may become easily frustrated or agitated, which can result in physical violence towards their children. Loss of control. Addiction often involves a loss of control over substance use. When individuals prioritize obtaining and using drugs or alcohol over their responsibilities as parents, they may neglect their children's needs and resort to violence if their children become demanding or disruptive. Neglect of parenting responsibilities. Parents struggling with addiction may be preoccupied with obtaining and using substances, leaving them less attentive to their children's safety and well-being. This neglect can result in accidental injuries or situations that escalate to physical abuse. Financial stress. Addiction can lead to financial difficulties as individuals may spend significant amounts of money on drugs or alcohol. This financial strain can increase stress within the family and contribute to physical abuse if parents become overwhelmed by their circumstances. Criminal activity. Substance abuse can lead individuals to engage in criminal activities to support their habit. Involvement in criminal behavior may expose children to dangerous situations and environments, increasing the risk of physical harm. Loss of empathy and empathy deficit. Prolonged substance abuse can erode a person's empathy, making it difficult for them to understand and respond appropriately to their child's needs and emotion. This emotional disconnect can lead to abusive behavior. It's important to emphasize that addiction is a medical condition and not all individuals with addiction will engage in physical abuse. However, when substance abuse co-occurs with other risk factors such as a history of violence or a lack of social support, the risk of physical child abuse may be heightened. Interventions and support systems are crucial for both individuals struggling with addiction and their families to reduce the risk of physical child abuse and ensure the safety and well-being of children in such households. This may involve substance abuse treatment, therapy, parenting classes, and involvement from Child Protective Services when necessary to protect the child's safety. Child abuse in the context of addicted parents can take various forms, including physical, emotional, and neglectful abuse. Recognizing the signs of abuse is crucial to ensuring the safety and well-being of the child. Here are some common signs of child abuse in families with addicted parents.
Physical abuse. Unexplained bruises, cuts, burns, or injuries on the child's body. Frequent injuries that are inconsistent with the child's age or developmental stage. Unexplained fractures or broken bones.
History of repeated injuries or hospitalizations. Emotional abuse. Frequent criticism, belittling, or humiliation of the child. Constant yelling, shouting, or verbal aggression. Isolation from friends or family members, preventing the child from forming healthy relationships. Manipulative or controlling behavior that damages the child's self-esteem. Neglect. Inadequate clothing, hygiene, or nutrition for the child. Frequent absences from school or chronic truancy. Lack of supervision or consistent caregiving. Leaving the child unsupervised in potentially dangerous situations.
Inability to provide medical care or neglecting the child's medical needs.
Witnessing substance abuse. Observing parents or caregivers using drugs or alcohol excessively or inappropriately. Being present during domestic violence incidents related to substance abuse. Being exposed to drug paraphernalia or illegal substances within the home.
Behavioral changes. Sudden and significant changes in the child's behavior, such as aggression, withdrawal, or regression. Frequent nightmares or trouble sleeping, fear or avoidance of parents or caregivers, anxious or depressive symptoms.
Decline in school performance. A noticeable decline in academic performance, such as dropping grades or truancy. Difficulty concentrating or paying attention in school. Lack of basic necessities. Inconsistent access to food, clean clothing, or a safe living environment. Frequent changes in living arrangements or homelessness. Parental involvement in criminal activities. Parents or caregivers involving the child in criminal activities related to drug use or distribution. Emotional distress in parents. Parents or caregivers exhibiting extreme emotional distress, volatility, or unpredictability due to substance abuse, which can negatively affect the child. It's important to remember that the presence of one or more of these signs does not necessarily confirm child abuse, as some signs can also be indicative of other issues. However, if you suspect that a child is being abused or neglected, it is essential to report your concerns to the appropriate child protective services or law enforcement agency. Reporting can help ensure that the child receives the necessary intervention and support to ensure their safety and well-being. If you or someone you know is struggling with addiction, or if you suspect child abuse or neglect, please seek help immediately. There are dedicated hotlines available to provide support and assistance. For addiction-related concerns, you can reach out to the Substance Abuse and Mental Health Services Administration, SAMHSA National Helpline at 1-800-662-HELP. They can connect you with resources and treatment options in your area. If you suspect child abuse or neglect, please call the National Child Abuse Hotline at 1-800-4-CHILD, 1-800-422-4453. Your call can make a difference in a child's life. Remember, there is hope, support, and help available. Recognizing the signs of child abuse in families with addicted parents is of paramount importance for several compelling reasons. Child safety. The safety and well-being of children must always be our top priority. Identifying signs of abuse allows us to intervene and protect children from harm. Early intervention. Recognizing these signs early can lead to timely intervention, which can prevent further abuse and mitigate its long-term impact on a child's physical and emotional health. Preventing a cycle. By addressing child abuse in families affected by addiction, we can potentially break the cycle of abuse, as children who experience abuse are at higher risk of perpetuating it in the future. Supporting families, identifying signs of abuse provides an opportunity to connect families to help and support they need, such as substance abuse treatment, counseling, and parenting resources.
Community responsibility. It is our collective responsibility to protect vulnerable children in our communities. Raising awareness and recognizing these signs empowers all of us to be vigilant advocates for children's safety.
Thank you for joining us in this important discussion about recognizing the signs of child abuse in families affected by addiction. By raising awareness and staying vigilant, we can make a difference in the lives of countless children.
We encourage you to subscribe to our channel, share this video with your friends and family, and hit the notification bell to stay updated on our future content.
Your thoughts and insights in the comment section mean the world to us. Please share your experiences, questions, or suggestions for future topics. Let's continue this conversation and support one another.
Once again, thank you for being a part of this community dedicated to creating a safer and more caring world for our children. Together, we can make a lasting impact. Take care and remember, every child deserves love, care.